John Durham's report and a presidency in crisis. The press covers its eyes about Joe Biden and helps re-elect Donald Trump. If there wasn't a Clinton plan, the phrase used 65 times in Monday's published report by Justice Department Special Counsel John Durham, to tar then-rival Donald Trump as a Russian agent, there may have been a plan about what to say if anybody asked if there was a Clinton plan. Ridiculous was the word used by campaign chairman John Podesta when interviewed by the special counsel. Ridiculous, said foreign policy advisor Jake Sullivan. Mrs. Clinton at least mixed it up, calling the notion of a deliberate smear campaign very sad and a rabbit hole. For a plan that didn't exist, it was remarkably effective. The Steele dossier was a tissue of lies made up by a Clinton-paid investigator who simply fabricated sources and information. The Alpha Bank allegation, the Yodaphone allegation, don't ask, were inventions promoted by a Democratic lawyer who claimed his clients were an amalgam of Gilligan's Island actors residing at EPA headquarters. As with previous work by Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz, pivotal information is sadly reserved for a classified appendix, in this case Russian intelligence intercepted by the Obama administration indicating the Kremlin knew of the Clinton plan. Who knows if this Russian intelligence was any more solidly based than the Clinton intelligence that sent the FBI off in search of Trump collusion. The Russians could have intuited a Clinton plan's existence simply by reading the press. In any case, much to the later aggravation of key FBI investigators, the Durham report reveals that they were never told of the Russian intelligence pointing to a Clinton role in creating the collusion evidence they were asked to assess. Mr. Durham's findings will be old hat and ignored by a media that ignored such information even when it was new hat. Even to the most receptive audience, the news will be eclipsed by what has happened since. The Clinton campaign engaged in good, old-fashioned political smears, albeit helped by fellow travelers in the FBI. This new low in American politics has since been succeeded by the layer cake of falsehood cooked up by 51 former top intelligence officials, including 3 former leaders of the CIA, to flaunt a new fake Russia conspiracy to get Joe Biden elected. Because of Mr. Durham's timing, you're reading an expurgated version of a column that would have noted that, in any universe where news reporting hadn't been corrupted by the need to appear anti-Trump, Mr. Biden's would be a presidency in crisis. Even so, the news blackout can't conceal the suspicious details unearthed by congressional investigators about Biden family bank accounts, shell companies and transfers from shady foreign actors. It can't conceal that Mr. Biden may owe his presidency to a de facto U.S. intelligence agency operation to bamboozle voters about his son's laptop. A Dixie-whistling press can't suppress a whopping factoid. Though Mr. Biden's likeliest opponent has been found liable for sexual assault, is under indictment for payoffs to a porn star, and soon may face various federal charges, Mr. Trump is still beating Mr. Biden in some national polls. Last week's CNN town hall, despite much huffing and puffing, rightly frightens Democrats. It shows Mr. Trump ambulatory and energetic, qualities that no amount of pharmaceutical intervention can supply Mr. Biden. For several days the New York Times featured prominently on its home page the headline, "As Biden runs again, Black voters' frustration bubbles." Mr. Biden thereupon ran off to frighten the graduating class of Howard University, who likely have their pick of job offers from name-brand employers, with imaginary white supremacists hiding under every bridge. Outrage and mockery alternate when Russia characterizes its enemies in Ukraine as Nazis. But of course, if the Putin regime characterized its Ukrainian opponents as they actually are, the Russian people might start questioning their own government. Mr. Biden engages in the same dodge with his constant invocations of white racism. Don't kid yourself. This is political desperation at work. The press should also understand what it saw on CNN last week, an audience clapping and yipping not because they think Mr. Trump is a fount of accuracy, but because they see a cynical operator beating America's media and political elites at their own game of non-stop cynicism. My guess, there's now a 50% chance that a Biden candidacy would simply end up effectively abdicating the 2024 contest to Mr. Trump. Mr. Biden might yet drop out of the race. Mr. Trump's path to the nomination might still be interrupted by a DeSantis or Tim Scott. But the press should stop kidding itself about its own role. In the classic definition of insanity, its effort to keep Mr. Trump out of the White House by sacrificing its own standards of journalistic integrity and truth-telling when it comes to Mr. Biden, Mrs. Clinton, the Russia hoax, etc., is what will put Mr. Trump back in the White House. John Durham's report and a presidency in crisis. The press covers its eyes about Joe Biden and helps re-elect Donald Trump. If there wasn't a Clinton plan, the phrase used 65 times in Monday's published report by Justice Department Special Counsel John Durham, to tar then-rival Donald Trump as a Russian agent, there may have been a plan about what to say if anybody asked if there was a Clinton plan. Ridiculous was the word used by